All right, so good evening, everybody. This is It's iBUGs Life for May 29th, 2025. And we will be talking today about emergency preparedness. And for that, we will be handing it over facilitator George Batiste. But before that, we'll quickly do a few housekeeping things and do our intros and so forth. Okay, so iBUG, we are a nonprofit. We have various activities throughout the month, about 25 to be exact. And immediately, coming up, we have the iBUG Night at the Virtual Movies, and we will be watching Before Sunrise, directed by Art Linkletter. Fun movie, sounds it's like a rom-com, I guess it would be. So that's tomorrow night at 8. Social time at 7:15, where we'll have Name That Tune, bad jokes, and other argle-bargle silliness. After the movie, we'll have a discussion and trivia. Saturday, we are off. Sunday's the beginning of hurricane season. And then Monday, we start all over. We'll have the iBUG Buzz Monday night from 7 to 9. And then after that, the AfterBuzz, where people can hang out and talk about anything other than some forbidden topics, and come and find out about the forbidden topics on that night. Okay. The other announcement is we have our second annual iBUGs Got Talent. So if you have talent, we would love to hear from you. All the details are on our website and have been sent out via email. The deadline is June 15th, and there are very specific rules, so we recommend that you read them and comply with them to ensure that everything is done properly. Okay, so June 15th is the deadline, so start now, working on it, go read it, and try to submit your recordings, and we will be in touch with you. The actual event is on Saturday, August 2nd. Okay, those are the big things. We did have our iBUG anniversary call last Saturday, and many of you were there, and we appreciate your support in being there. The call has been recorded and posted on our website. So if you missed it or didn't catch all of it, or you want to go figure out what the skit was all about, you can go and listen to it on our website or other podcasting apps or YouTube. Okay, and then the final thing is if you want to go to the website, you can register to get all the announcements of our upcoming events. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to George. And we do not use the raise hand feature. We say your name, wait to be recognized. We want this to be interactive. We don't. So therefore, in order to have a meaningful and courteous discussion, I would allow you cutting over each other. Wait, say your name. Wait for George to recognize you before you start speaking. And try not to monopolize the discussion because we want to get as many people participating as possible. So now we're going to go around and we do like our intro. Like for you, George, do you have a icebreaker? I can't remember.
Forgive me, I did not prepare one.
Okay, that's okay. We're just going to go around. We're going to unmute you, say who you are, where you're from, and then if this is the first time you've ever been to the It's iBUGs Life, let us know that, okay? So here we go.
Well, I guess you could say, do you have any summer plans? There you go.
Huh?
Do you have any plans for the summer? Here we go.
Okay, well, that could be too much talking.
That's true. All right, never mind. Nothing. We just introduction.
All right. Question is, have you ever been through a hurricane? Yes or no? Don't tell me the name and don't tell me how long and how horrible. Just yes or no. Okay, let's go. Who you are, where you're from, and have you been through a hurricane?
This is Jody in New Hampshire. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Jody.
Christina,
Hey,
Colorado, and no.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Jake from Michigan.
Go ahead, Jake.
And the answer is no, I've never been through a hurricane.
Good. Okay.
Angelo in Ottawa, and yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Keep going.
Ned from
Deborah.
Texas, no.
Okay, thank you, Ned. Who else?
Joe from Ontario, and yes, when Sandy came through, we got a little bit of
Okay,
that.
thank you, Joe. We missed you. It's been a while. Okay, keep going.
Deborah.
Can I tell?
Keep going.
Yes, and I've been through several hurricanes, and I can help George out if he needs me to.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Welcome. Who else?
Deborah
Marty.
Houston.
Hang on, Marty, go.
Marty, Ben Salem, Sandy, and Irene, and a couple others.
Okay, all
Where
right.
you guys from?
He's from Pennsylvania.
Okay, got it. I didn't
This
hear.
is Vincent, and yes.
So Vincent, yes, he actually follows directions. Way to go, Vincent. Okay, keep going.
And from St. Louis, Missouri, and no.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ann. Who else?
Deborah Elliott from
Columbus,
Houston.
Deborah Elliott, go.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Paul?
Columbus, no.
No? Okay, good. Who else?
Misty from New Jersey, and no.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Who else?
Bernard Palmer from Washington, D.C., and I'm new.
Okay, now time for the interrogation. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, how'd you hear about us?
A friend in another organization gave me you guys' information.
Okay, can you come a little closer? Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear him good.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, I hear him just fine.
All right, thank you. Okay, who else?
Valencia from Maryland, first time on. It's iBUGs Life, and no, but I've had the cocktail.
Okay, thank you.
Cocktail.
Miss Valencia, who else?
I'll explain that later.
This is Pete in Florida, and I can tell you a cocktail doesn't help, and I've been through several.
Thank you, Pete. Keep going.
Janice from Maryland, yes.
Okay, hey, Janice. Okay, keep going.
Deb from Kansas, no.
Good. Okay, thank you. Keep going.
This is Intisar from Iowa, and no.
Okay, thank you, Intisar. Yes, keep going.
Arlene, North Carolina, no.
Okay, thank you. Who else?
Rosetta Stone from Houston, no.
Okay. And for anybody joining late, the question is who you are, where you're from, and have you been through a hurricane?
Rosetta Stone from Conyers, Georgia, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, well, anybody else? Okay, I'll go then. This is Sandhya, and yes. George, what about you? I'll hand it over to George, and he'll tell us. So, George, we're handing it over to the beginning of It's iBUGs Live.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We've been away for a moment, but we're back. And I thank all of you guys for joining us. And yep, my name is George. I am in Houston. I'm also originally from New Orleans, and I've been through a handful, not many, but enough. Enough too that I don't want to experience it again. Now, side note, Gloria says she's in Houston, and you've never been through a hurricane, ever.
Yes,
right?
yes, I have.
Okay, because I thought you said no. I was say, wait a minute, that sounds that does not sound right. Okay, all right, we stand corrected. Okay, I was hoping we had somebody here from California because actually we're gonna be discussing being prepared for disasters, primarily hurricanes. When the first one I got on my list. But I also was going to touch on a little bit on other type of disaster things that you can go through and give some preparedness tips. And that's why I was hoping somebody was on here from California because I was hoping they can share some experience, especially if they were in the Southern California area, that if they experienced the LA fires that took place last summer, fall. One of those times, it was a long time, that some of you like me probably was praying for those folks and was watching it and couldn't take away from the story because that was just an amazing thing that had taken place. But I digress. So we talk about usually this particular platform, which took a brief hiatus, mainly discusses some things that you can do at home. And if you are somebody with no vision or has some visual impairment, we give some tips on how you also can do these same things without having to rely on vision. This is why we participate in this. And since we are at the end of spring, about to be the beginning of summer, some of us probably are experiencing summer already. Usually there are some unfortunate disasters that take place that we have no control over. So we're going to be discussing tips on how you can be disaster ready for it. Now, Sandy already gave you some of the ground rules. I'll just repeat them again in case you guys have missed them. That if you want to contribute to the conversation, if you want to ask a question, excuse me, if you want to ask or make a comment, say your name, wait to be recognized because I am definitely paying attention. I will call on your name, and then I will yield the mic to you to make your question or comment. If you are in an area that has a lot of background noise, such as pets during their talking, maybe kids come and ask a question, or whatever the case may be, it may be a good idea to keep yourself on mute. And if you have something to say, then you can come off mute. So that way we won't have too many distractions. Because I'm one of those, I pay attention to everything. If I hear something, I'm going to want to know what that is. All right, so let's get this party started, so to speak. Emergency preparedness. For one thing, what you like to do is how to properly prepare for an emergency if something is taking place. So before we get into the specific situations, one thing that I would encourage everybody to do is make a to-do list to get yourself well prepared. Now, what's on this to-do list? It could be one thing, assessing your residential surrounding, such as if you live like on the first floor or if you live on a higher floor. If you need to escape to the higher floor, have a plan to get up there. Hopefully you're not someone who may be confined to somebody who's in a wheelchair. And if you are, you definitely want to put on your list as to if something is come in place that caused me to get off of the first floor because there may be some danger. Let's find a way how I can get to higher ground or how I can travel to some place before, especially if it's a hurricane, that I can make sure I'm up high enough that I wouldn't be affected by flood waters that may come in. Another thing you would like to do on your to-do list is to make sure you have easy access to your medications. If you are someone who is taking prescription meds, what if it's on a daily basis, multiple times a day, and if you are someone who administers them yourself, or what if you would have assistance, just make sure you have easy access to them. I mean, if you keep your prescriptions, say like in a medicine cabinet, and the shelves are high up, then if something is coming up, well, you may have to evacuate or you may have to travel, leave the place where you are, get your meds, and make sure you have easy access to getting them. Or and make sure that your prescriptions are properly refilled as well. You don't want to get to a point where you only have like 3 dosages left or 3 left, and you may be going for like 4 or 5 days, and you possibly can be causing some health situations that will put you in a bad situation. So make sure that you have easy access to your prescriptions and make sure that they are quite up to date. All your refills are done. Another thing you like to do is grab important or essential documents if you have to leave your home. This is such things as insurance cards, identification cards, what if it's birth certificate, any kind of vital papers that you would need in case you have to evacuate or you have to, unfortunately, be hospitalized. You just want to make sure you be prepared. Have all of your important documents. I would even say, definitely credit cards, social security cards, anything that could be deemed extremely essential in an emergency situation. Have that with you. Have it on your person. Easy way to get it. Have it organized as well, especially with the medications. If you have a certain amount of doses you take at a certain time of the day, and if they're different ones, I will invest in a pill organizer or a prescription organizer so that you don't mix everything up, and keep that readily filled. Have a way, if you are someone who happen to be alone, have a way or a system in place that you'll be able to identify your meds. One of these could be, if we all have some kind of smartphones or smart devices, have an app on there that will allow you to independently be able to recognize or read that information, such as using such app as Be My Eyes or Seeing AI or the visual interpretation service, whether you're using a live person on Be My Eyes or if you happen to be someone who are able to be a subscriber for the IRA service. This, have access to that so that you can make sure you can independently organize your important documents. You may also want to have, in case if it is a disaster that is approaching that will cause you to lose power, make sure you have enough batteries for all of your portable gadgets, all of your portable devices, electronic. And this could be AA or AAA batteries, or maybe even D batteries for your flashlights if you need those. The other size batteries for if you have a portable radio or an accessible blood pressure monitor machine that charges by way of batteries or some sort of USB connection. If you are having smart devices such as an iPhone, Android phone, iPad, have portable power for those. Get yourself a power bank. Invest in that. And I will go to the point of having more than one. Have multiple power banks, because you never know exactly how long you may be without power or how long you may be away from your place. So if electricity is out where you are, you want to still be able to be wired up. So make sure you have portable power ready available. I would also indicate that now you may hear this on news stations a lot or on different programs when it sends out ready preparedness kits. Have non-perishable food items. Just like canned goods. So if you're going to have canned goods, definitely have a can opener that's battery operated or a manual one. Maybe you want to make sure that you're prepared in the event that you happen to lose power. You also may want to have crackers, maybe some juice, maybe definitely plenty of bottled water, and just anything. It's kind of like your survivor kit. Have that put in place, even though as of right now here in Houston, where we are in the Gulf South, currently we are not under any type of storm watch, though there is a small development when I watched the news the other day that's taking place, I think, off of the Pacific, because they even got, the first name on the Pacific will be Alvin. I have not heard what the first storm name will be for the Atlantic, which would affect us, going into the Gulf. But there's nothing for us to be on alert. But so even if you don't have anything, I would say just be prepared. The beginning of hurricane season starts June 1. June 1 is this Sunday. So it might be a good idea to, have something in place, have all your gatherings, put together a kit for your non-perishable items. Make sure you're well stocked on batteries, all the other things that I just mentioned before. Now, you also want to have yourself set up now in the case of a hurricane, we're going to go ahead and talk about hurricanes now. Hurricanes is one that is the reason why I actually live here in Houston, because of a big one that I had experienced back in New Orleans. And this kind of helped me to be exactly well prepared. Even though when I was living in New Orleans, in Louisiana, a lot of storms were always threatening to come that way. but I never was directly affected by one. So we just like somewhat be on alert, wonder what it would be like if it was to happen to us. So since I actually got to experience a Category 5 one, I definitely have an evacuation plan put together. Evacuating plans meaning that if you have to evacuate your area, know where you're going to go. Start making arrangements or contacts if it's family members that you have or close friends who live out of the area where the disaster is not going to take place. Check up with them to make sure that you can depend on them to go to that place to put you up for maybe whether it's a few hours or a couple of days or a week or however long it may be. But you also, it is pretty essential to have an evacuation plan in place and not wait till the last minute. And I will share why it's a bad idea to wait till the last minute, because if everybody is doing the same thing that you're trying to do at the last minute, it's going to make it challenging that you may not be able to get a place that you can evacuate to. Like if you do not have a friend or a relative, somebody who you can go to, so the next thing you'd be trying to do is to get a hotel. When we were decided to evacuate when Hurricane Katrina had come back in 2005, we kind of waited too late to put a real solid evacuation plan together, because the year before there was a big storm that was attacking southern Louisiana area. And we did all the evacuation plans. Matter of fact, we actually left at midnight, thought it wouldn't be that crowded because it's midnight, but unfortunately, like everybody decided to leave at midnight. And even though there was a contraflow of the interstates, it took us about 8.5 hours to travel 80 miles because we were moving like at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Since everybody decided to evacuate at the same time. And we left New Orleans and around midnight. We didn't reach Baton Rouge about 8 or 8:30 in the morning. We had plans to come here to Houston, so I guess it was destined for me to come live in the city since I had planned to come here in 2004. And when we got to Baton Rouge, we got some breakfast at a McDonald's, sat there for like about an hour and a half for those who were driving so they can kind of like get refreshed. And that's when I heard on the radio, I was the one with the radio listening to reports that said the storm had turned. It was Hurricane Ivan at the time. And so that New Orleans was no longer a direct threat. So we turned around and decided we didn't have to go all the way to Houston. And then it took us about 55 minutes to get back to the New Orleans area, which the storm had come, but all we got is like a nice breeze. And I think it ended up going to Alabama. Now, because of that, fast forward a year later, when Katrina was approaching, we were saying, we're not going to go anywhere. We remember what that experience was like, that tiresome driving in that slow-moving traffic, all of those miles and all of those hours. We decided not to go, but unfortunately, when we woke up Sunday morning and they said the storm is not turning, then by that time, it was too late. Just about everything from here to from when I'm saying here, I'm talking about New Orleans, far east to Atlanta, west to Houston, even beyond Houston, maybe in Dallas. Just about every hotel I could think of was sold out. And so we had to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to shelter in place in that city. And it was me, my mother, my brother, one of my sisters and her 2 kids. We sheltered in place at the Superdome. And I don't need to revisit that. You guys probably remember the stories. That's how horrible the conditions were in that Superdome. I did get to experience it, although I wasn't in a direct area down on the field where a whole lot of stuff was taking place. And I was fortunate. I was blessed that my brother happened to be a security guard for a company called USF&G, who were hired to patrol the Superdome. And those who were family members of anybody who worked for the company got to camp out or shelter in place in the luxury boxes of the Superdome, where, the box seats said if anybody ever go to a sporting event or something like that, and the box in the luxury, there's they got refrigerated, they got private bathrooms, and so we was in that area. which, the first night, it was fun. But of course, when the storm was approaching and the power went out and each day and hour went by, conditions deteriorated. I think it took us like about 24, maybe 36 hours till there was no more plumbing. The plumbing had went down, so that made it bad. I'll leave it to your imagination what that experience was like. The lights went out, I think, as the storm was approaching. I think it started hitting the area like about 4:30 in the morning. And at about 6:28 a.m. that Monday, August the 29th, 2005, yes, that date is forever written in my memory. That's when the dome lost power. Now, they did have generators, so emergency lights did come back on like some 15 seconds or 10 seconds later, but there was no AC that went out. And the plumbing was still good until like the next day. That's when the plumbing just got worse. And I happened to had to stay in there for 5 days, not only for the storm to pass, but I had to figure out which evacuation plan that we was going to be a part of to leave the city. So this is why it is essential to have a travel plan in place. And as I lived in Houston, like I think the next major storm that we had considered getting out was not with Rita, because Rita did take place 3 years later. It came, to Texas, but we didn't go anywhere because the people whose home I was living in, which was on the north side of Houston, they told us that, they were like 70 miles away from any major bodies of water, so their area would not flood. So that's why we decided not to evacuate for Rita. But we did prepare for if the power were to go out, we make sure there was plenty of food and liquids available. I think I even purchased a corded phone because I think all they had was a cordless phone in the house. And we already had portable chargers for the cell phones. So because of my experience with Katrina, I was prepared for Rita. And then 3 years later, when Houston was attacked by Hurricane Ike, which causes people to lose a lot of power for weeks at a time, including me, I was without power for like 12 days. We did leave when Ike was coming. Me and my immediate family, we left. We actually went to northern Louisiana, went to Shreveport, Louisiana to ride it out, monitor the radio. And so we wasn't here for the direct approach of Ike, but I had to experience the aftermath of the damages that Ike had caused. Because we did come back to Houston some 5 days later, thinking that everything was fine. Matter of fact, we even got notices that the school was going to be reopening on that Wednesday, because I think Ike came on a Friday. And I even had called my landlord for the townhouse that I was living in and asked her, was the power back? Did we have electricity? And she said, yeah, which turned out not to be true, because when we got back on the street that I lived on, my side did not have electricity, but on the other side did have electricity. On the other side was mainly businesses like Kroger's, Blockbuster Video, eatery places if they were open. Sonic was right across the street. They had power, but the residential side where I lived did not have any power. So, which means when I realized we didn't have any power, we went to my mother's apartment. She lived like in the Champions Forest area of Houston, which is the north side of Houston. And so we camped out there in her extra room at her place. So when it comes to if a hurricane is approaching, if there's any silver lining about a hurricane, at least you can see it coming. You can see it approaching. You got time to prepare and watch forecasts, to make plans to get out if it's going to really attack the area where you're at. Now, disasters, things like tornadoes or earthquakes in some area, unfortunately, you just
George?
got to, yes.
Pete, sorry to interrupt you. I was looking for a breaking point. One of
That's
the
fine.
things that I'd like to mention with respect to an evacuation plan is transportation. You apparently in your family, whenever you had to evacuate New Orleans, you had somebody who would drive. Now, we're blind. Most of us, if not all of us, are blind to some extent. So driving isn't something we take for granted. So part of your evacuation plan, I would think, would be to prepare for your transportation if you do have to leave your area, or even if you just have to go to a local shelter, because I know in Jacksonville, shelters open up, the half a dozen to a dozen, maybe more around town if a hurricane is approaching, and you'll hear the locations and, whether they're pet friendly, which is important, of course, for folks with guide dogs. But transportation is something you should plan for or try to plan for if at all possible. Your paratransit service in your area, do you have neighbors? Do you have family? Do you have friends that can get you to a shelter or that can get you far enough inland or, out of the danger zone to put you in a safe location? So don't just plan on where you're going to go, but how you're going to get there. That's all I wanted to add.
That's okay. No, Pete, that's a very an important point. And I'm surprised. Well, not surprised, but it's I'm glad you brought me back to that, because I should have mentioned that. Yes, transportation, especially those of us who do not have the ability to drive ourselves, that is definitely extremely essential. That's almost, I would put that up there next to knowing where you're going to go. Because if you know where you're going to go, you want to plan where you're going to go, I guess the next step is, how am I going to get there? So, yeah, transportation is definitely essential. How are you going to travel? Whether you're using commercial travel, such as using the inner city buses like Greyhound, Flixbus. There's no more Megabus here in Texas. But, check those schedules, purchase those tickets as quick as you can, because they definitely will sell out a lot. As a matter of fact, at some point in your area, they probably will start discontinuing service if it becomes dangerous for them to travel on the highways, if they have to travel in the direction that the storm is coming from. So if you're going to evacuate away from it, you make sure you get your tickets quick. If you happen to have people who are able to drive, that's good too. And if you do have someone to travel with who is able to drive, yeah, definitely gas up. Make sure the tanks are full and you travel someplace that, you can continue to supply yourself with gas. And even if necessary, I would say, especially if you're fortunate to live in a home that maybe you may not get flooded out, but your power may go out, I would say get you some gas containers or tanks that you will fill up in case you may need to, if you have the ability or know someone to power your generator.
Hang
Okay,
on.
who's that?
You ready?
Hang on. I think we got, okay, Rosetta, I think you're unmuted. Rosetta, you got to go back on mute.
Unless you have some comment you want to make.
Hang on, let me go.
I don't think she can hear us. Okay, we got that. Oh, wait a minute, I got feedback.
Excuse me, it's Joe.
Okay, hang on. Wait till we get the feedback. See the way. The feedback could be that somebody has multiple devices on in the same room. Okay. I think we got it. Yeah, we got it. Now, who's calling for the floor? I'm sorry.
It was Joe. It's Joe.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember when we had a big ice storm here in Ontario in 2013. I had a wind-up radio, and then at that time, you could plug in a cell phone for one charge. I'm just wondering if those wind-up radios are still available, because that would be a good thing to have too.
I don't have the knowledge about that.
Now unmuted alert.
George?
Yeah, go ahead. Who's that?
This is Karen.
Go ahead,
yes,
Karen.
you can buy them from Amazon.
For anything, Joe, I would say, yeah, check Amazon. Amazon is like the go-to thing for if something still exists. They may have it, they may not. Or if they don't, because you have a lot of pop-up Amazon third-party sellers as well who may have some things up for sale. I think eBay still exists. You probably can find it there. Maybe probably some electronic store may have them. So I haven't seen the wind-up radio in a while, but it's probably a good idea to have. That's something that definitely does not require power.
Yeah, this is Joe. I do have it. I still have mine. I can.
Okay.
So.
And also,
go ahead, Karen.
Also, if y'all want me to send you the link for the one I have, it's still available through Amazon. I bought this thing 2 years ago, and I love it. And it's such a hot item that you can get them in 3 colors. And all I would have to do is just send you the link to it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say dropped it in the chat because some of us not able to do that. Send that definitely to the iBUG email address, and they can make sure they can put it on the website, which, if I remember correct, is ibugtoday@gmail.com. Sounded you could correct me if I say that wrong. Any information and things you want to share, put it there, and we can make sure. Well, not we, Michael and Sonia and those who control that, we'll make sure it gets on the website. But that is a great idea, great suggestion. Yeah, of having a way of having access to information that does not require power. It's what we would call low-tech situations. But yeah, Pete, thanks a lot for bringing up part about transportation. That is definitely a key. I did when we traveled the first time. I think my mother was still driving at the time, so we piled in my sister's Suburban and drove because my sister was afraid to drive on bridges, on anything that's elevated highways. And the next time when we evacuated, well, my brother just came and told us, come to Superdome, so we left with him. And how we made it all the way from New Orleans to Houston was also by my brother, who unfortunately is no longer with us because he had a little car. And once we decided where we was going to go to, he drove us all the way there. So transportation is definitely a key. That'll be the time, too, to make sure that you have everybody's phone numbers. So you have up-to-date phone numbers. People's phone numbers have changed. Get a hold of that. Get a hold of them so that you can have correct numbers. Make sure keep your contacts up to date. Keep your emergency contacts up to date. Besides, we did talk about having a radio, having batteries. I mentioned that. I would also, and I think we also talked about having portable power, but I also say have access to some kind of hotspot. Hotspot is good because, if you are someplace and if you lose power, your Wi-Fi will not be available that you have plugged in, providing you your internet access. So if you have a portable hotspot that can get in touch with, things in the universe, that way you still have access to finding things on the internet and having access to Wi-Fi capabilities.
This is Jody.
Good, Jody. I'm skimming through. I got quiet. Yeah.
And of course, cell service. But the other thing too is that the counties will usually designate one of the shelters as a special needs shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And for people that have special needs, including having guide dogs. And you also might want to, in advance, register through your local emergency services and notify them that that you have special needs or that you're visually impaired, don't have transportation, or that you have a guide dog and they can assist. They can be aware that assistance is needed.
This is Sandy.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, in the Houston area, and I guess this is common all across, you can just call your 311 service, and then I think that's where you can let them know about your needs. I think it's 311. That's
correct.
Other question I had is about, could you talk about radios, or did you already talk about radios?
It's been mentioned. I've been talking about it off and on. We just talked about wind-up radios. I did mention having radios. Make sure you got batteries for that radio that you can listen to. Unfortunately, there are no more analog TV radios because analog is gone. So radios are good because, especially if you got like a good AM radio. I know people that probably don't listen to AM anymore.
Right.
But AM radio can cover a lot of areas. Meaning if you're traveling away, you probably have a local station that is a 50,000 watt station. That's how you can keep up what's going on in your area that you are evacuating from.
And this is Sandhya.
Okay.
The other point I was going to say is like, you might think, okay, well, I'm blind, so I really don't need a flashlight, but the people that you are with may need to have a flashlight. So it is in our interest to prepare ourselves and then what our group might need. So I kind of had this happen the other day. So it's really important to have some kind of you already talked about flashlights, but even though we are blind, the people that we're with might need it. So
Absolutely. Because
This is Janice.
Yeah, go ahead, Janice.
I'm sorry for the background noise, but regarding the flashlight, even if you're alone and you're blind, it could help people find you. So if you turn on a flashlight, maybe put the power's out and it's dark. So that is very helpful.
Yeah, a flashlight is something good to have, and have batteries for that flashlight. Some flashlights take D batteries, some flashlights takes AA batteries. And like with Joe was mentioning about the wind-up radio, there are wind-up flashlights that you can get. When I was a vocational rehabilitation teacher here with the state of Texas, we used to give those out as part of our teacher supplies. That is, it's like a little thing you can crank, and it actually serves as a flashlight. I do not remember the time limit on it when it's fully wind up, but it actually was very bright. It was something a good thing to have. I don't know if they still have them because I don't do that type of service anymore, but I'm in touch with the folks that do here in this area. But I'm sure wind up flashlights are good. Flashlights is good to have, even though we may not need the lights, but people, our loved ones we're with or folks we're working with may need some light. I would even say get some candles because you do want to have, as you guys probably have experienced, sighted people panic when the light goes out. And it's important because that's something they are extremely accustomed to. And when you take something away that they just take for granted and know it's all the way there, yeah, they're going to really cause an alarm for them if they don't have access to some kind of light, even though they're definitely capable of maneuvering without light. It's just something that they don't practice a lot. So definitely have flashlights. Make sure you have good batteries in your flashlight and have a good number supply of batteries for that flashlight, and have also some candles as well, and a way of lighting those candles. What if you're going to use matches or a cigarette lighter or some sort of lighter to light that candle, to be
Jody.
prepared for the folks who definitely will need the light. Yes, Jody.
Yeah, I absolutely love candles, especially scented candles, but in an emergency, I avoid them because of the added possibility of an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I was going to mention is that when you are in a hurricane situation, emergency services won't run once the wind hits 50 miles an hour.
That's true.
Janice Samuel has left the meeting alert.
That is true. Especially if you decided to be shelter in place in your home, just be prepared. Once the storm is approaching, it gets high winds, then, you're in jeopardy of those first responders folks for injuring themselves. So they may not be able to reach you until things calm down. And like I think Sandy was alluding to or had mentioned, definitely, or someone did, might have was Jody, definitely get registered with your, whatever it's 211 or 311, I think it's 211 in some areas, 311 in another area, that they have your contact information, so that they actually establish a list. And if you're someone who has a disability or is elderly, they will contact you to check on you if you happen to be by yourselves. And they also will check on you to see if you need to go to a particular shelter, whether if it's a public facility like a recreational center or a community center or whatever kind of shelters have been set up. They can make sure that they will be in partnership with the transit services in your area, that they will give you free transportation to those areas if you need that. And in most of those shelters, they do supply you with food and liquids and make sure help you to organize your meds as well. Was that Sandia?
Yes, I was going to add sort of part of that thought. if your power goes out, there is apparently a list where you can let them know that you have, either certain medical conditions or, in my case, I have a power wheelchair, so it's kind of critical that I get power back, or, if you're on meds, or there's so many reasons why you would need power to just keep you alive. Okay. And so there is apparently a list that you can get on, and then that gives you some sense of priority. I haven't done it, but I've been made aware of it. So it's one other thought.
There you go. There you go. Anybody else have a comment or question you want to make?
This is Emily.
Comment.
All right, go to you first. I heard you first, and then you go to Norma.
Emily first, yeah.
Okay, so me first?
Emily?
Okay. Well, I wanted to also mention when you were talking about the what radio situation. Actually, the new ones comes with a flashlight too and a radio, and they are solar as well.
Say that one more time.
It's those wind-up radios you were talking about.
Yeah.
It also have a flashlight, radio, and solar. The new ones.
Oh, the solar. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, solar power stuff. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's something that probably would not require power. Of course, you would need the sunlight to be out for it to work, but that's something to invest in too.
Right.
They even nowadays have I don't know how long they've been around, but some friends of mine I know bought a solar power generator that they can use.
Yes.
For powering like real essentials like lights, or maybe a radio or TV, something that does not require a whole lot of power. Now, it's not going to power, I don't think, a air conditioning unit or a central unit, but when you need like emergency power, these solar power generators do work. The company that put it out, they're not that big, Hugh. They're about the size of what's a good measurement? I'll think of something here in a second, but I know they're not that big. They weigh about 10 or 15 pounds. And this is something that it allows you to charge your phones, charge your power banks, and plug up something that would need it. If you have one of those portable refrigerators, I think it had enough power to power that, maybe a fan. And I just discovered there are such things as rechargeable fans that you can get if you need it. My manager lost power yesterday because of the storm that we had here in Houston, and they made an investment where they had, like, in their home, they got like 6 of these rechargeable fans that they were using because their power was out for like about 14 hours. So that might be something to look into. That definitely is available on Amazon by a company called Audus. I think it's spelled A. I'll look it up in a second before we close out today. Something DUS. And it costs like about $44. So I'll definitely make sure before we end tonight to give you guys that information. I may even send Sonia that link that she can probably put that on the website as well.
This is Jacob, a comment.
Go ahead, Jacob.
About generators. Anchor has some batteries, like battery banks, but they also have like a portable battery, a portable generator that you can have. It's called Anchor Solex F3800 Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to like build it in or anything. You can charge it and then you can plug things into it. It has 120 volt outlets and 240 volt outlets. And you can get up to 6,000 watts.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Somebody else, I think, had, when Emily was chimed in, had wanted to say it before. I forgot their name. Anybody remember who that was? Or if you know who you were?
I think Jeff.
Who was it?
I think it was Jeff.
Audio now unmuted alert.
Okay.
I was going to say something, but she covered it, so that's fine with me.
Okay.
All right, George?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
Okay, when you were talking about the documents, they need to be put into waterproof bags, either into Ziploc, or stick your billfold into a waterproof bag, a Ziploc, and then put that into like a rubberized waterproof bag for any type of documentation, your house keys, car keys,
Great idea, Deborah. I'm making a note of it right now because we do this presentation every once in a while since we have a lot of new people that join this particular platform or just joining iBug. And I didn't have that written down, but that is extremely important that your documents, you want to make sure they're in some sort of waterproof area, like you said, a plastic Ziploc bag or maybe a container, something that keeps the documents from getting damaged.
Yeah, I have the,
And
like you can pick up at the, I guess you can get them on Amazon too, but over at the sports ones, just the waterproof bags, like take boating with you, anything that will keep it afloat and keep the water out. Also, hand sanitizer, bottle of hand sanitizer is good to have.
absolutely, definitely important. We all should know that from the pandemic we just suffered like about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. I also keep a medical kit in my emergency, Band-Aids, Neosporin, tweezers, scissors, something, Band-Aids of various sizes.
Okay.
Because you never know when you might just get a scratch or something to take care of that. And also with the perishable foods, I just keep a couple of sets of plastic silverware. It's kind of hard to eat peanut butter unless you stick your finger in the jar. But I keep some silverware. I can pick up at a restaurant that you have. That way you've got a knife, a fork, and a spoon, and some plates, and either napkins or paper towels or something.
Yeah, we definitely are joking about it, but no, that's key. That's important. You want to definitely have some napkins, some plasticware, the hand sanitizer, definitely, to keep germs away. So all this could go together like in your kit that you're preparing if you have to evacuate or if you lose power. It's good to have those things along with your bottled water. So
That's
definitely
right.
would need something like that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Suggestion on the documents too, if at all possible, it might not be a bad idea to have photos of your ID cards, your insurance cards, even your passport if you've got one, any other documents that you think is critical on your iPhone, if there's another backup.
Yep, you're inside my head, Paul. I had in my mind to say that once we got to break that. Yeah, if your important documents, we all like hard copies, but as a backup, if they are able to be downloaded somewhere in your electronic device, whether it's an email or stored somewhere on your phone in a note section of your phone, take a picture of it. Out of that, this is where you're going to always have those documents. If some kind of way your important documents either get lost or damaged, you got the backup for it. So that is definitely a great idea. You was definitely inside my head on that one. Great tips. I'm writing it down too. So the next time, if we do this again, some 2 or 3 years later, I definitely will remember that, or a year later.
This is Amy.
All right, there was 2 of you, and you guys were a tie. So who was it? Try again. You said Linda?
Valencia.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Lots of things. Going back to documents, I've heard of 2 companies, basically, I guess more or less are kits for you to organize your documents, such as, I guess, birth certificates, social security cards, passports, photo IDs. One is called the Icebox, which is for in case of emergency. And then the other one is a knockbox, which stands for next of kin. Now, I'm assuming they're more visually geared, but you could always get braille labeling tape and plastic page sleeves that have like 3 hole punches and slide whatever documents into those for protection purposes. When it comes to sanitization, I discovered a company, they're based in California, and they do essential oil towelettes, which are geared for your hands, but you could use them for your body as well. And peppermint, eucalyptus, lemon, orange, and lavender, and you can get them in packs of 20. Urban Essentials is spelled HERBAN and then Essentials. And you can find them on Amazon or buy them directly off of their website. And there was something
Did you say something was called an ice box?
Ice box, yes, in case of emergency.
Okay.
And I think there's something else that I'm forgetting. But my question was, or is, could you explain what the difference between a watch and a warning is when it comes to weather, like tornado watch versus tornado warning, or hurricane watch versus hurricane warning?
Let's see if I can remember, because I do hear this a lot, and this gets asked a lot. If not, I'm sure I can probably look it up before we end today. I think if it is a warning, that means there's going to be storm-like conditions that would simulate that particular thing. Like if you hear like tornado warning, that means the tornado is actually possibly going to develop. If it's a tornado watch, the tornado is there, and you just want to be on alert that if you're in an area where it's going to hit, do your preparations
Audio
to
now
get in safe
unmuted alert.
areas. So I'll definitely will confirm it before we go. Or somebody who have access to Google or your 8-lady device and ask her the difference between watch and warning. But I think if I remember correctly, warning means there are going to be conditions that will probably simulate that actual storm. Watch meaning it's already there, it's hit landfall, so it'll be on the, and I may have it backwards.
This is Randy.
Okay.
Audio now unmuted alert.
Are you going to talk? You going to give us about the warning and watch?
This is Ned.
This is Randy.
George.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Let me just pick somebody. Go ahead, Ned, and then we'll go Randy.
I think you have it reversed. A watch are the conditions are in place that something could happen or they're gathering around us, whereas a warning is it happened. It's there.
It's there. It's going to.
It happened.
May not be in your direct area, but it's there.
It's there, yeah. So a warning is more severe than a watch.
Gotcha. Okay, Randy, you want to contribute?
I'm
just
going to back on what he just said. I lived in Oklahoma for a number of years, and tornadoes.
You would know.
Yeah. So basically, he was right. As a watch is, conditions are favorable for tornadoes, whereas a warning is a tornado has been spotted, and just to keep track of they usually have on the TV. They tell you where they're coming. So when you see a warning, you just want to see how close you are to the warning area.
Kind of like the same thing with flood watch and flood warning. Warning means the flood is taking place. Watch, the flood like watch conditions may develop. I got you. That does make sense. Okay, who's calling for the floor?
This is Annie.
Go ahead, Annie. Yeah, you want to hide with.
I was waiting earlier.
With the other lady. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna now comment on what you were going to say, and also warning mean like we got a lot of tornadoes here. That mean it touched down somewhere, but it's not right here yet. So I mean they've seen it and it touched down. So, but anyhow, I'll go to what I was going to comment about earlier. Also, now we most all of us we just carry plastic. We don't have cash on us. We don't use much cash. But when you aware of something happened, maybe it's a good idea to have some cash on you, because whatever, like if somebody's gonna come and get you, or you need something or whatever, it's make it more attractive or whatever if you have the cash and you have to pay them, or to help out. So it's important. Or if you like if it's gonna borrow something or whatever, it's really good to have cash on you.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. Yeah, we love our cards, we love our plastic, but in an emergency situation, because electronics may be down, and then you may be traveling to some rural areas who probably do not have card reader machines, or may not have what it is called, Square. What do they do with the cell phone that you can run a card? They may not have that available. So it's always good to have emergency cash available, some in hand. Matter of fact, there are some platforms that or programs that I listen to. They always says to probably have like an emergency cash fund on hand in-house, somewhere that you can easily get to the cash in case you may need to travel with that, because it's an emergency. And I'm not going to tell you a specific amount. You will determine what you would need, how much you would need if you needed to travel, and how much cash you would need, because it all depends on how many people are you traveling with and what may be your essential needs to make sure you got enough cash for that. So definitely with that. Let's see, it's a little after 8 o'clock Central Time. Just let you know, in case anybody's tuning in, Lynn, this is another presentation of It's iBUGs Life, where this particular month, we are discussing being prepared for disasters. We talked a good bit about hurricanes, and having escape plans and preparing yourself. And actually what I'd like to do, just for a few seconds, if there's anybody who did not get an opportunity to introduce himself, if you missed the introductions, go ahead and say your name, the city and state that you're calling from, and whether if you have ever been in a hurricane before. If we have anybody that has joined us late and did not get a chance to identify themselves, you can come off mute and do that if you want to. And if not, I will continue on. All right, so since we got people from Oklahoma, let's talk about tornadoes for a minute. We talked about hurricanes. We're going to now talk about tornadoes.
I'm sorry, I was away from my phone. This is Randy from near Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, Randy, thanks for joining us. Okay. Anybody else?
This is Dale Zalesnik from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've never been in a hurricane.
Okay. Okay, good. Thanks for joining us today. Or tonight. Okay. Now, talking about tornadoes, one thing that I have notated here is that if you are in a tornado, have what we call is a NOAA weather radio. NOAA weather radio, I think they do still exist, but this is where it's like a 24-hour broadcast of weather conditions in your immediate area. If you have like some sort of scanning device, I think the frequency is at 162.55 megahertz. And you can pull it up. It used to be years ago live people who would put recordings of weather forecasting in your area, giving you alerts and things like that, or tornadoes may be approaching. But now I think they have AI voices that actually records that. But it's something good to have. You know, it's one of those things that is always going to be where you can get information if you have access to pulling up that frequency or listening to those radios. If you're home, if you live in an area who gets tornadoes and your home have a basement, go to that basement. That's a good, safe place to go to ride out a tornado passing. It keeps you clear of any type of clutter. You know, be clear of any type of clutter. You don't want to be near any type of glass or windows in case because I've heard, and I think that still exists, they say if a tornado is passing, they tell you to open the windows instead of having the windows closed. I think it has something to do with the vacuum of the wind turning that could possibly shatter the windows. So I would remember as a kid, and even through high school, they always says a way to prepare for the tornado in your home is to actually open the windows, but don't sit in the path of that open window. Get in the closet if you have space to get into a closet to hide out from flying debris or flying things like that. Find a small room on the lowest level of your home, or I already said about closet, get into a large closet. You can also go into, go into your bathroom if your bathroom does not have a window in it, and get in the bathtub. That's a good place to avoid type of things that could protect you from if a tornado hits your area. Stay in touch with social media, especially if you got people who want to know what if you're okay, you know, because everybody here all across the country, what if a disaster is taking place in your area. So one way that if you do not have any cell service or if you do not have any power to make a phone call anywhere or people to call you, this is where I know on Facebook they got a thing where you can check to say that you are safe, that you are okay. So this is where, although social media at some point can, can be an asset to you, not only for you checking on your loved ones if they're in an area where you hear disasters going in, but the way you can alert anyone else that you are either safe or you're not okay, which may help.
You mean, this is Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
I've always wondered because I read, not that I'm in a tornado area, but I've read this about getting into the bathtub. Why do you get into the bathtub?
Well, I said a bathtub because especially if your bathroom does not have a window, the area, that towel, and that way you'd be away from any type of debris flying in or hitting you. But they just, emergency people said that's a good solid way of actually, keeping yourself safe.
Well, the ceiling could still fall in it if you're in the bathtub. Still could bang you.
Yeah, but again, if your
So
bathroom,
why not on the floor?
Lie on the floor, you can do that too. If your bathroom definitely is large enough and there's not a window, because some homes do have bathrooms in their, do have windows in their bathroom.
Yeah.
So if your bathroom does not have a window, like the house that I used to live in for like 10 years here in Houston, in one of the bathrooms we had, there was a window. So I definitely probably wouldn't go in that particular bathroom, but the other bathroom did not have a window.
This is Paul.
This is Annie.
Okay, Paul was first and then Annie.
A lot of times that people are covering themselves with a mattress or heavy blankets or something in the bathtub, and have avoided being injured from falling debris and whatever.
Okay,
there you go.
And one other thing too, on the radio with the weather band, the weather band is usually on those crank phones also. And the other thing to think about for calling with your phone, if the circuits are busy, sometimes it's a lot easier to get a text message out and in than it is to try to make an actual call.
Mm-hmm. That is true. And I think a lot of emergency or first responder places have a way that you can text them instead of calling. Like I know the metro system here in Houston allows you to be able to send text messages to their main number rather than try to call them if the lines are busy. Go ahead, Annie.
This is Annie. The reason I think you go in the bathtub instead of, because if it's on the floor, the like medicine cabinet, the glass, could shake, break. Also, the toilet things could fly off, but it's in the tub, more stable and you'll be more protected.
Now they don't say go in there and take a bath.
This is Ned.
Go ahead, Ned.
Yes, also on the news yesterday, because we were under a tornado watch and warnings up here in Central Texas, and they talked about if you have a bicycle helmet or a construction helmet, if you have access to that stuff, to put that on your head while you're, waiting out the tornado.
Absolutely.
This is Jody.
Randy.
Okay, Randy and then Jody.
Yes. So in addition to the discussion about being in a room that doesn't have a window, to add a little bit to that, if possible, you actually want to be in a room that doesn't have any walls that are outer walls. You want to be in an inner room that has its own four walls that be a bit safer too.
What do you mean by outer wall and inner wall?
So, for example, you want to be in a room where none of the walls in the room are actually, the wall that's also on an outside wall. So, for example, if you come in your foyer, that wall, on the other side of that wall is the outside. You don't want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. I got you. Like my patio in my living room, that probably is an outer wall, which, that makes sense. I got you. Who did I say would be next? Jody, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if you have a steel bathtub, that's a structure that's around you, and especially, if you've got a tornado right there, I'd pull the mattress over you.
Yeah.
And so you've got the protection of the mattress, but then the structure of the bathtub around you.
Mm-hmm. And you just realize too, some storms could be extremely powerful. That even though we may prepare, we may tie things down. Sometimes those winds can be strong enough; it will break stuff apart and have stuff flying. So if you get in that bathtub and, like Jody was saying, put a mattress over you, basically you just want to keep protecting yourself from any projectiles, from hitting you in the head and causing more harm to you. So just a way about actually, cushioning flying objects that can come at you. All right. Anyone else?
This is Deb.
Hey, Deb.
Hi. Another thing that I mean, it's kind of common sense, but if you've got your place prepared that you're going to go in case of a tornado, when you are getting ready to go there, be sure to grab your cane or your dog harness or whatever. Don't leave those behind, and make sure you're wearing shoes.
Definitely have to protect your feet. And yeah, for those of us who have service animals, make sure you got your supplies, especially if you're traveling. Getting back to the traveling, we talked about the important documents, the meds, and things like that. But if you have a service animal or if you have a pet, make sure you got all your necessary supplies for your four-legged child. Have their food, if they have meds they have to take, whatever the case may be, whatever you need for your animal, which is, part of the service that they provide, have those supplies ready too. That probably goes without saying, but we feel we need to throw that in there anyway. All right. Anybody have any other questions or comments or thoughts or suggestions when it comes to tornadoes?
This is Randy.
Go ahead, Randy.
I've heard this suggested sometime, which is if you're in a situation where you might be frequent and you, as part of the preparation, you take a piece of paper that's enclosed in plastic and magnetized somewhere, maybe your refrigerator, that maybe has your cell number, maybe next of kin's phone number, and just other information so a responder might maybe try to contact you or contact someone that knows you to see, if you're not in a house, where you might be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if this has been discussed on the iBUG Cafe or Apple Workshop, but I'm sure there's a way you can set up your smartphone that if you have like emergency contacts, those people's phone numbers that you can, even if your phone gets locked, there should be a way, make sure there's a way that someone can access it to call someone that needs to know what's happening with you if an emergency situation was to take place. I was at someone's house one time where, unfortunately something had happened, but their phone was locked and we had no way of contacting their emergency contacts because it wasn't set up that way. So any event, take a part of the health section that's in the phone. I think it's on the page 1. This is where you can put emergency contacts, their phone number, who they are, how they're related to you, that if something was to happen to you, which we hope nothing does, they can contact that person. It also allows you to, now I'm sure everybody knows how to trigger the emergency. If you can't have time to dial the number, you can probably press the not the home button, the volume up button and the power off button at the same time. It gets you to that field where you can either shut the phone down or tap for an emergency. And when you do that, it alerts everybody you have in your emergency contact. Not only will they call 911 for you, but it also will send messages, alerts to those folks you have put in there. I used to have my phone set up like that, and one time I hit it by accident more than once. And it did, it contacted my daughter, it contacted a couple of people I have listed on that. And what it would do is, especially even if you're traveling or if you are at some place, it tracks you. So they know exactly where you are and they know exactly where you are traveling to. And I think when I hit it by accident, I had all kind of people calling me, are you okay? Are you okay? We got the emergency alert. And I'm like, oh, I hit that thing by accident. I think I probably was trying to turn the phone off and hit the emergency thing. And I think only one time that I did it, that it actually called 911. I had to let them know, no, there's no emergency. Now, those of you who probably on Android phones, I don't know if the trigger is that set up the same way. Any Android users on here? That you hold on the volume up and the power button? I guess we have no Android users. Okay. Anybody have Android knowledge? All right. So we move on. Any more comments about tornadoes?
Valencia.
Go ahead, Valencia.
I forgot earlier, in worst case scenarios type situations, there are little devices that are usually like on a keychain or something that you can, it's basically like a personal alarm that's supposed to sound that you can push or whatever, or turn a switch, and it can hopefully help somebody find you if you're, separated. The one that I have has a key ring attached to it. It's called Damsel in Distress, which I don't like the name, but it is what it is. So, and then going back to fans, there are neck fans that you can buy. I got mine off of Amazon.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And it has, the two fan heads that you can adjust on both your right and left side. 3-speed, low, medium, and high. And then the one that I have actually has lights that flash on it too, which I didn't know until after I got it. So there's that.
Yeah, I seen somebody at church one time. They had that neck fan because, they sweat a lot. When they're moving around, and so it helps keep them cool. So that's a nice thing. I don't really need one myself, but I thought it was cool that they're walking around with that, keeping themselves cool. Like the fan you were talking about, the one I was talking about earlier, the rechargeable fans, they also come with a light too. This is good for using to hang up like in a tent if you're going camping, or if you have a deck in your yard and you want to have a fan blowing out there, you can hang it. It's got a hook on it, and it also has a light on it as well. And I do promise I will get that the name of that company if anybody is interested in ordering that particular kind of fan. I want to talk about, if there are no more comments about tornadoes or anything we discussed so far, preparing yourself for extreme heat. I have not heard what the forecast is. If we're going to have a real hot summer this year in the Gulf South here, I'm not. But I know extreme heat is something that's also you need to be prepared for. In extreme heat, it says it happens if it goes through a period where the temperatures or humidity are above 90 degrees for multiple days. So if we got like 3 or 4 days in a row where the temperature is going to be well above 90, also the relative humidity is well above 90, that's extreme heat. That can be some intense situation that you definitely want to be prepared for. In case of that, make sure you have lots of fluids. I think I wrote a note here that says, in extreme heat, your body works extra hard to maintain a normal body temperature. So it's a good idea to make sure, don't just rely on a fan to keep you cool. Fans creates a false sense of comfort. Fans would not reduce body temperature. It may just give you that instant probably relief, but it's not cooling the entire body. So definitely, besides keeping liquids, go to a cooling place. If your home or place happens to lose power or for whatever reason it's not getting cool, you can do a search in areas such as like a shopping mall that you can hang out at during the day, a recreational center, a library if they still exist. I say if they still exist because part of my work, one of the questions I have to ask when I do my assessment is, if you have to do research, do you use the internet, do you go to Google, or do you actually go to a library? And I think I've had, out of the whole time I've been doing this particular thing for like the last 2 years, there may have been probably 2 people in 2 years who say they actually do go to a library. But I digress. I apologize. Somebody wanted to make a comment. I thought I heard somebody say their name or come off mute. But yeah, in extreme heat situation, make sure you stay hydrated during the day. Go to a cooling place. Don't just sit there, especially if your house is not, that doesn't keep cool. If you don't have enough trees around your house to shade yourself from the sun or save your home from the sun. Cover your windows with some sort of drapes or window shades to help, combat the heat. I think I already said, maybe I was ahead of myself, drinks lots of water, wear light color clothing.
George?
Yes, sir.
This is Marty. I wanted to make a comment when we were talking about I'm going back a little bit when we were talking about, getting ready for emergencies.
Yes, sir.
I think one thing that you didn't mention, I think they're available. Are they called REMs, ready to eat meals? They're like meals that are like in a package. I think the military has them,
Yes, they do.
and you microwave them.
I've never had one, but I know people who take like drill, or matter of fact, when I was in the Superdome, that's what they were feeding some folks was the MRE. So
MREs, that's it.
yeah, MRE is meals ready to eat. That's what it stands for. I know
Yeah.
besides crackers, what else is in there? Do you have any idea?
I thought I don't know if there's like ravioli, or I think there's actually, they're actually like meals. So I think it's not just like a lunchbox.
Okay.
I think
Not a Lunchable. They have like pieces of salami and crackers and cookies.
This is Sandhya.
Hey, Sandhya.
Back to the staying cool part.
Yes.
We found, maybe you mentioned this, there are these portable fans, and they can last for like 24 hours, and they're super light, and it is just amazing. I mean, so I forgot how much they are. They may be like $30 or something. My nephew told me about them, and so I bought one for each member of our family. And you can carry it around. I may have mentioned this before, and it's got a little clip, and then you can just clip it to wherever you are or whatever. But it's a very useful thing to stay cool.
You might be talking about the fan that I was talking about that I told you my manager sent me. She sent me the link on Amazon. I haven't ordered it yet, and it was like about, I think, $40 or $44. And it was like a rechargeable fan that has a light on it, and they have like 6 of them in home. I mean, I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, this one doesn't have a light. It just
Okay.
like a lightning charger, like what you would charge your phone with. And this is Sunday. I had one more point, may have already said this. We like to think about our iPhones, but God forbid they can fall into a puddle of water. So definitely back the whole thing up. You should be doing that anyway on a regular basis. And then, you never know what could happen to your data. So definitely have that backed up so you can at least try to restore it if something should happen to your phone.
This is Ned.
Go ahead, Ned.
Yes, also on keeping cool, I think Amazon sells a scarf. It's like a type of material that you dampen or get wet, and then you can wear that around your neck, and that'll help keep you cool. I have friends that use that when they're playing tennis or jogging here in the heat of Texas, something they can put around their neck.
Okay.
This is Sandhya. One more thing.
Go ahead.
I think Ted, we all know Ted from our calls,
Yeah.
and he has a neck fan. So it sounds like similar to what Ned is saying, but it literally blows air on your neck. So
Yeah, somebody just mentioned it like about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, sorry. I'm in and out eating dinner with these crazy people here.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay, all right.
Yes, you mentioned a neck fan. I forgot who it was that said it. They mentioned.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back on mute.
Didn't invite me to dinner. That's okay. Anyway.
This is.
I digress. Go ahead.
Hi. I have neighbors who put those wet scarves on the necks of their dogs in August here. So maybe you want one for your dog too.
Yeah, dogs do get hot too. I've never seen a dog sweat, but I know they do get hot. Okay, I found the link. It's something called an ADUST, ADUST, camping fan. It says long lasting. It's rechargeable. It has a LED light on it, and you can hang it. It has a hook where you can hang it up inside of like a canopy or a tent or something like that. And when I pulled it up on Amazon, they come in different colors. I think orange, blue, white, and I forgot the fourth color. I think gray. And when I looked it up, it was like $44, $44.99, and that's available on Amazon. Put this phone back over here. All right, where is my? There it is. Okay. So anybody else got any cooling tips before I leave that on if it gets too hot? Okay. Moving on. And usually in intense heat, we were talking about the emergency preparedness of first responders. If you need you need transportation to one of the cooling centers that I have mentioned, the shopping mall, the community centers, the recreational centers. I think in most, I need to go hydrate myself. Most popular metropolitan areas will give you free transportation to those particular centers as well if you need it. All right, home fires. To protect yourself and to be very aware if a fire happens to break out in your home, and to be, have some kind of alerts in place, have smoke alarms. Make sure you test your smoke detectors. All of them should have like a little button on it that if you have a ladder or get somebody to hop up there and press that button to make sure it is still functionable. If you're getting that annoying like chirp to let you know that your battery is running low, don't let that happen too long. Immediately do whatever you need to do to get your batteries replaced, because you need to have a good smoke alarm working to detect if a fire is breaking out in your area or in your home. Replace the batteries. I think I read somewhere that says good to replace the batteries twice a year. I'm probably bad at that because I live in an apartment and I think I've been here 2 years. I think I've only replaced the battery in one of them once. So the other ones, I know it's probably time for them to be replaced. If you happen to be staying in a place like a hotel or some sort of building where you may work at, if you're still working, make sure you can locate the stair. Because at most places, if somebody pulls a smoke alarm or if a fire breaks out, the first rule is it says do not use the elevators. So it's always good to use the stairs. So that, and I'll make that a practice. What I even happen to be knowing about that, because I'm one of those. I'm weird. If I stay in a hotel, I like being high up, even though the view is going to be the same for me. But I just like being high up. But what I always do, every hotel I stay in, whether if I'm on a high floor or not so high floor, I'm going to go locate the stairs so I can know that if an emergency break out, I know exactly where to go at, and will put it in my subconscious to go find those stairs, since I know they're going to turn off the elevators anyway. Have 2 plans to escape if you need to. If a fire break out, what if you're in a building or at your home? If you have the ability to have 2 ways of escaping away from the fire, use that. What if it's going through the window or have another door? Now, unfortunately, I do live in an apartment that has a front door that I can exit out to leave like I normally use, but I also have a patio door, a balcony. Now, I'm only on the 2nd floor, so if a fire was to break out somewhere in here, which, knock on wood, that never happens, I will just go to my patio, and by me being on the 2nd floor, if fire departments to come out, they can easily rescue me, or it may be good enough that I might, if I'm daring enough, I probably may even climb down, because we have like these 3 2x4 or 4x4 poles that helps hold up the balconies on the floor above me and the floor, and then of course my floor, that I have a way of getting out of here if a fire was to break out, even if a fire was to break out in my hallway, which I hope that will never happen. I pulled this up the web to say sleep with your bedroom doors open if you live alone like myself, which I do anyway because I want to hear everything that's going on in my place no matter what, whether there's a fire or not. But they said it's a good practice that to don't have your bedroom door closed. Keep a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. And if you want to learn how to use your fire extinguisher, you can go to any local firehouse to learn how to properly use the extinguisher. It doesn't cost anything. So if you have one, mount it, whatever's in your kitchen or wherever else in your home, and you've never used it, and you don't have a clue on how to use it, I always say it's a good practice to learn how to use that. And you can, I'm sure there's an instruction card that can be read or scanned to find out how to properly use it. But I would say just so you can have the good practice, take it down, go to any firehouse, and the firefighters there would definitely help you train you on how to operate that, and make sure your fire extinguisher is fully charged. I didn't look up on how often you should charge it, but I can find it out, and we can probably post it on the website as well. And maybe once a year, I think, may be a good practice. But definitely want to make sure you got a good, fully functionable fire extinguisher. And I would say it's a good practice to learn how to work it if you need to, even if like a little small not grease fire, but a small fire may pop up in your kitchen or whatever, or if you're grilling. It's just a good practice to learn how to operate those. Accidents may happen, so if an accident happens, you won't be alarmed. You'll be already prepared on how to use it if you should need to use that. Any questions or thoughts or comments on fires?
Hi, this is Carlo. I have a question. Like, if there's an emergency, do you have a fire exit at the back at your apartment where you can go?
My apartment, my fire exit probably is my patio because, it's a balcony, and it just, there's no fire stairs from my patio. But one good thing about, it's kind of good and bad, or good and unfortunate. Now, I live about, how would I measure that? Maybe 6 feet from the back stairway to exit my apartment. So if something was to happen, like in a hallway, I can easily get out. But if a fire is like in my kitchen, and if I can't get past it, then yeah, I'm possibly just going to go on the patio, and I'm definitely going to call 911. And also, or if it's not that big, I would just use my fire extinguisher to put the fire out. But good question. So I will say with everyone, that's why I advise, if you're in a building, locate the stairs. If you're in your home, have an evacuation plan. If you have like a fire escape, know where it's at, that you can get to it. And always like practice, so you can have it in your subconscious. If it's in your subconscious, then that'll prevent you from panicking. That if an emergency was to break out, if a fire was to break out, something that you don't have to really think too much about. All right. Go ahead, Annie.
Yeah, and also, if you live with others in a family and there's a fire, have a plan place outside that you will all meet after you escape.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's like like when where I work at, every once in a while they do fire drills, and they have a designated area that they tell us to go to should an emergency take place, like a fire. When they pull it, we all have a place that we go to in an orderly fashion to go to that area. Okay.
Hey, George?
Yes.
This is Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
You mentioned a while ago about the bedroom doors. I think you said to leave a bedroom door open.
Yeah, I forget which website I pulled the information from, but it says always good to have keep the bedroom door open.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you just based on the fact that I've had Houston firemen tell us to keep the bedroom door closed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it significantly slows down the spread of the fire, the smoke, and the heat.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, like I say, this is not my thought. This is where I gathered from, and I should have written down what website I had got it from. But it just in here, it says sleep with the bedroom door open. But that does, in theory, that does make sense, because you want to make sure it doesn't spread to your area where you're at. So in theory, that makes sense. Go ahead, Annie.
They both make sense, because I wanted to say, when we leave the bedroom open, if there is, like you said, if you hear if the door closed, you wouldn't hear when the fire alarm goes off. We have individual one by the kitchen, but it's not the whole house. Then you can hear it. Also, once we had our water heater, it flooded. I mean, it got hole and it was leaking. Now, because if the door was open, I could hear the whoosh, the water sound. If the door was closed, I would never heard it, and I was able to get up quickly and turn off that water. So I guess I could see both points.
Correct. And like I said,
Th-
I sleep with the door open because I just want to hear, I live alone, I live independently, and I want to be aware of everything going on in here. So that's why I don't think my bedroom door has ever been closed since I've lived here in this particular unit because I just want to know what's going on out there.
this is Vincent.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Yes, I think that what you were referring about opening doors, you were not saying opening doors. You were actually talking about opening windows when there is a tornado, and that's to let the air go through. Not for a fire. You were talking about tornadoes, which makes sense. Just so the air will go through. The from one side of the building or one side of the house through the other one.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Do we have anybody in here who's on the West Coast? Okay, I know somebody might have chimed in late. I got
This is Ned.
Go ahead, Ned.
Well, I'm not from the West Coast, but going back to fire in the doors, I know that when you're staying in a hotel, and the alarm goes off, you're supposed to feel the door of your hotel room to see if it's warm before you open it. I guess that's what I've heard. And one time when I was in a hotel in Washington, D.C., there was a fire in the kitchen and the alarms went off, and we had to evacuate. I had to go down from 4 floors down to the ground floor to get out of the hotel, and then stay outside until the firemen gave us the all clear to go back into our hotel. And I remember being in that one time.
Okay. Yeah, and I have heard that, when I've said it on some fire presentations, fire preparedness presentations, they do tell you that, like, if you are, like, in a building or in a room or whatever, and you smell smoke, touch the door. And if that door is hot, you may not want to open that particular door because the fire could be on the other side of that door. I have heard that particular advice given before as well.
Misty,
Go ahead.
what if you're in a townhouse like I'm in, and just about every room we have are sliding doors. We have it in our living room, our bedroom, our one of the bedrooms. Well, my main bedroom is up on the 3rd level. It has sliding doors. My living room is on the 2nd level and it has sliding doors. And then our bedroom is on the next level under the there, and it has sliding doors. And down in our den, it has sliding doors. Now, what is protecting there?
That's a good question. You got a nice home. But anybody want to chime in on it? I don't have an answer for that. For a sliding door. Sound like your house is built like the Enterprise. We may have to research that and be prepared. I have no idea if there's any special techniques or safety techniques with sliding door versus swinging door. Okay.
This is Randy.
Yes, Randy.
I just want to add a thing about staircases when you need to exit a building for an emergency, is especially if you're in an unfamiliar place like a hotel you haven't been to before, or maybe an office building or something. It's a good idea to make sure you know where not only where the nearest staircase is, but where is there a staircase that's going to take you outside the building. I was in a hotel one time. I had to uh, get up about 5 in the morning and for 7 a.m. flight. I had to find somebody to help me get to the door to wait for the shuttle. And there was no one in the hallways at that hour. And I found a staircase, but when I went down, it just took me to an open atrium part of the ground floor of the hotel. I had no idea where I was.
Oh,
So it's
boy.
always a good idea to either have someone show you where the nearest door or staircase is going to take you out the building, and if possible, if you're in the frame of mind, kind of record it while you're going through it, so you can play it back to yourself if you're alone and you need to do it yourself in a kind of hurry.
Definitely, yeah. Make it a practice. Like I say, if I'm adventurous and it's just things that I want to know because I want to put it in my mind. Not only do I locate the stairs, I actually walk the stairway. I want to know how many steps in each flight. Because if I get that buried in my subconscious, and if it comes to a point that I have to use it, there won't be no panic because I already know. I've already orientated myself not only how to find the stairs, how many stairs in each flight. So I know when I need to turn if it's straight down. And that's a good point too, that once you get to the bottom, the first floor, is it going to exit down to the first floor? Is it going to exit into the lobby? Or is it going to exit outside? So that's a good point. When you do the stairs, like I said, make it a practice. I will offer the suggestion, if you have the ability to do that, once you locate the stairs, walk them. Do one flight. We may not have the stamina to be walking down a whole bunch of stairs, but I'll say even ask questions or just go exploring it and learn what the stairs are in case if an emergency situation breaks out. It's better to be prepared than sorry. Will be the thing that I will encourage everyone to live by.
Misty again.
Yes, Misty.
I was going to say that is correct because when I go to hotels and I'm scheduled to be there, I'm going to give an example on a Friday. I always go the Thursday night and I reserve the hotel from all directions of where the stairs are and where the exit, whether it's taking me outside or into the front lobby or however. So I do that every time I go to a hotel. I always go the night before so that I can observe the stairs and stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I would like to I hope I'm not saying it too much, but if you're traveling, if you're in a hotel, locate those stairs. You may need to do it so that way you know where to go. Even if you're gonna be with someone, they probably will want you can help them out. Say, yeah, I know where the stairs are. I'm in this room. I need to go 4 doors down on the right side. That's gonna be the stairs, or on the left side, wherever they are. Locate that. If anybody's traveling to this summer to any of the big conventions, what if you're going to Dallas and New Orleans, when you check in, take some time, put on your agenda, go locate where the stairs are at on your floor. I would like to encourage you to do that. Okay, for the last, anybody have any other comments on this before I move on? I got a couple of things I'm probably just going to read through just for purposes of anybody going to replay back this particular thing. I'm going to touch on earthquakes, and then I'm going to touch on forest fire, and then if anybody want to chime in on any of that, and then we'll probably take some more questions if you have any. The research I've done on an earthquake, being prepared for that. If you are in a car, have the driver to pull over and set the parking brake on so the car won't move. You can stay as still as it possibly can. If you are in bed during an earthquake, turn face down and cover your head with a pillow. If you are outdoors, stay away from buildings if you possibly can. This is talking about earthquakes. If you are inside, stay inside and do not run outside and avoid doorways. If you're in an earthquake, drop down to your hands and knees and hold on to something sturdy, like a heavy piece of furniture. Or if you're able to get under a heavy piece of furniture, like if you have a piano in your home, get under it. If you have a pool table, get under it. Something heavy. If you're in an earthquake, if you are in a wheelchair, lock your wheels and remain seated until the shaking stops. And again, of course, if you have a helmet, cover your head. You want to protect yourself from any type of projectiles. If anybody on here who has been through an earthquake or have earthquake experience, chime in. You can. We want to hear your thoughts, or if any of this stuff makes sense, if you want to correct it. Or if you disagree with some of those things that I've mentioned, let me know.
This is Randy.
Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, back in February 2001, I was living in Seattle, Washington area, and I was on the 21st floor of a building in downtown Seattle, and all of a sudden there was like a slow moving, very kind of not very jarring or anything. And all of a sudden it got rough. And the person that was in the office, we're in an earthquake, but don't worry, just hang on. These buildings are built on wheels, and so if you look across the street, you can see the other building kind of swaying back and forth. And they just had us go, just use the stairway all the way down 21 flights to the ground floor so we went get out safely. That was quite an experience. Never been through an earthquake like that and witnessed it, but I was in a safe building when it happened.
Wow. I've never been in an earthquake. I tell myself I probably would panic because I've never been in one, and I don't want to be in one.
This is Angelo in Ottawa.
Go ahead, Angelo.
This happens to be an earthquake zone, so I have special coverage on my house insurance. And when the earthquakes come, I've been through 3 of them. Fortunately, none of them have been more than 5.4. You hear something that sounds like very large snowplow, although maybe you don't know what that sounds like. A very large snowplow coming, even though it's summertime, and you know that the earth is heaving. So I've got my special reinforcements under my stairways so that it can take the waveform. Anyway, so yes, I've been through 3, but none as high as Richter 6.
Okay. How often do they happen here a lot?
It's irregular. I guess I've been here for 50 years and I've had 3 of them. So they're not every year, but they do happen.
Okay.
Misty?
Go ahead, Misty.
I'm here in New Jersey, and just recently we had a small earthquake, and I did not know that it was an earthquake until my husband called me from work and asked me, did I feel it move? And I said, well, I felt something move, but I didn't know what it was. And I was sitting here on my couch, and like I said, I got glass here in my living room.
This is Vincent.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, I lived in Mexico for many years, and we have, Mexico City alone, similar to California, has slight tremors that are actually registered, but they are very, very minor, so most people don't feel them. But there's an average of about 10 every day, same as California. And the strongest earthquakes that we had were actually very destructive. They were oscillatory and trepidatory, which means that it moves horizontally and vertical. And those are the ones that cause the most destruction. And, in essence, there is very little that you can do about it. Naturally, you would try to hold the walls to prevent them from, an effortless effort to prevent them from moving, but there's really not much that you can do. And as you were saying, there are some buildings that when you live in areas that are prone to earthquakes, there are engineering policies to make buildings slightly, somewhat safe, to prevent damage from earthquakes. And that means that certain parts, like the outside walls are reinforced, and also entrances like doors and stuff like that are reinforced. So usually those are the areas that would suffer, that would manage to stay somewhat intact, as opposed to being in the center of a room where the a roof could collapse on top of you. But it really, if you don't have anything like that, getting under a strong, a sturdy, cedar table or something like that might help you from falling debris from on top. But if you are up on the 20th floor or whatever, you can go down after the earthquake. But usually these earthquakes, they may last just a few seconds, But usually, when there's an earthquake, there's more than one. There will be another one, a second one, or even a third one in the same day, or sometimes in the space of 2 or 3 days, because once again, it's magma, or the earth that is the faults under the particular area where you live that would still be shifting. So yes, I mean, this is a time when panic really doesn't help. There's you're practically. I mean, it's same thing as with a tornado. I mean, there's nothing that you can do. You can get to a safer part of a building or a house if you have a warning. But once the tornadoes coming right at you, you don't have time to do anything. That's it. You either got somewhere safe, or at least someplace that you thought was safe before the tornado struck, which is the best thing. If there's a warning, pay attention to it. Don't think that you're going to be safe because you have never been affected by a tornado. Definitely go to a safe place in your house. And same thing with fires and stuff like that. If you can evacuate the building, by all means evacuate it. Before there's fire outside of your door or whatever. Which, by the way, it's the same that the instruction I think Ned was talking about touching the doors. That's the same type of procedure that you would follow before exiting an airplane that has come down and there's a fire in the engines. You always touch the doors. You don't. I mean, if there's no emergency or flight attendants by you that can check that for you, you always touch the doors before you open it. And if that door is hot, then you go to the next door until you find one that is not as hot, and then you can exit that, because otherwise, you will be walking into fire.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for sharing that. That is excellent. Appreciate that. All right. Anybody got anything else regarding any of this? In closing, what I was going to do, I actually did some research. Michael asked me to, because we thought we might get some people on the West Coast to do like a little research on surviving a forest fire due to how they had all the fires in Los Angeles. So I'm just going to read through this quickly, and then we'll close out since we got like 5 minutes left. It says, during a wildfire event, keeping windows and doors closed keep windows and doors closed as much as possible. Make sure you have good quality air filters in your ventilation system. Close all doors and windows. I think I already said that. Turn all lights in the house, porch, garage. Turn them on. Let's see. All right, close doors, windows, and other openings. Close blinds or shutters. Remove furniture, tarpaulins, or firewood near the dwellings if it is safe to do so. Next one is the same thing. A lot of stuff kept repeating itself. Closing windows and doors. There's something for Canadians too. Okay, here we go. If you're in a fire or near a fire, immediately call 911. Immediately. Have an evacuation kit, first aid kit. Protect yourself from smoke. Keep smoke outside, obviously. And find an area that does not have vegetation. I don't know how you're going to do that. Consider moving to a large body of water. Use your cell phone to advise first responders, officials. Also, it's called 911. Here we go. Lie face down and cover your body. Use your cell phone to call 911 at home. Stay calm, gather your family, and that's about it. Everything else just keep repeating itself. Okay?
This is Angelo in Ottawa. Yep. We have large forest fires burning now.
Oh, wow.
in the forest in Northwest Territories and Saskatchewan and Manitoba. There are evacuations happening, and the smoke will be coming here probably in a day and a half. So all windows and doors have to be closed, and you have to have a COVID mask. So the fire season has started.
Okay. Are you in a situation? Are you going to have to evacuate? Is it going to get that close to you?
No, I'll just have to worry about the smoke coming.
Okay, that's good. Well, we definitely pray that it gets put out, it gets contained, and you guys don't lose anything from that, because that is fire is something that, oh man, if it gets out of control, it's going to destroy everything.
This is Sandia.
Hey, Sandia.
This is another, I think, point that they make, like in fires and so forth, that, if you have family members or whatever, that you have a designated area that you go to, and that's like the safe place that you will all go, and then that they're safe, because a lot of times people don't know where they are, and then they go back, and, they're really okay, and so it's like an escape plan. We've even done this at work too. You're supposed to go and marshal at a certain location, and then they can account for who is there. So,
Absolutely.
Christina?
Okay. Go ahead.
This is quick. Apologies if this has been mentioned.
That's okay.
One thing that I think is a really good idea is to make sure that you have phone numbers memorized of your loved ones, families, anyone you would need to call, because if you ever get separated from your phone, sometimes we have a bad habit of just, double tapping their name. We don't necessarily know their phone number. So yeah, that's all.
Absolutely. No, that's a good one. I actually do that naturally. It's just me. If I dial a number at least 2 or 3 times, it sticks in my memory. I'm weird. That's a weird talent I've been blessed with. But it's a good practice that, essential relatives or close relatives, try to memorize those numbers. That way you don't have to rely on electronics or your phone dying or lose papers, whatever. It's going to stay in your memory if you can make a practice of doing that. Okay, well, listen, guys, we're at the end of the hour. I thank all 30 plus of you who have tuned in today. Thanks to those of you who have contributed to the conversation. Ned, Vincent, Annie, Gloria. I'm probably going to leave somebody. I probably should have never started naming names. But if you spoke, I do appreciate you guys contributing to the conversation. And this has been great.
Yes,
Thank you for holding it.
George. Yeah, this was great.
George.
And
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
We really need it because it's happening. It's really the spring.
Can you hear me real quick?
Yeah, we can hear you.
The other thing now that we learned after the last hurricane season is just because you're not on the coast doesn't mean you're not, people from Western North Carolina really got hit badly. So like inland people are, even Beryl went up, it started here, but it went up. So it's like, we all have to be, weather aware and be prepared, so.
Absolutely.
It was Joe.
Prepared and be safe.
Fiona made it in, when Fiona was around, it made it into Nova Scotia. And I know that I'd never heard of that before. So
yes, as the patterns change, we just need to be aware. So thank you, George, for hosting this event today, and we will see y'all soon. And enjoy your wait, real quick. Tomorrow's movie is Before Sunrise. So for you romantics out there, this should be a fun one. Starting at 8 Central, right here on the same Zoom conference call. We're off for the weekend. And then Mondays, iBUG Buzz. Tuesdays, Mac Buzz. And other things will be happening. Trekkie Talk will be starting up the next week. So first of the month of June. So we got lots going on. So and
get your entries in for the showcase.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's where I was going.
I'm going to work on mine. I'm going to do
whether
it.
you have talent or not, or think you have talent, we'll decide. Go ahead and submit it. So, all right, guys. Thank y'all and have a great night. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nadia.
Bye.
George.
Thank you,
Thank
Joanne.
y'all.
You guys great.
Rosetta, I sent you an email.